I chose Vanessa because she never made love feel like a punishment. Daniel set it across our own dining table, with our son sitting between us and his mother pouring gravy like this was just another Sunday dinner. Before I tell you how our son found the hospital secret, stay with the last receipt, because this betrayal did not end where my husband thought it would. My hand tightened around the linen napkin in my lap. For a second, nobody moved. The roast chicken sat in the center of the table. The candles burned low. The silver fork near Ethan's plate made a tiny sound when his finger slipped from it. "Dad," Ethan said, barely above a whisper. "What are you talking about?" Daniel leaned back like he had waited years to say it. "I'm saying I'm done pretending." Margaret, his mother, froze with the gravy boat in her hand. "Daniel," she said. "Maybe this is not the time." "No," he said. "It is exactly the time." I looked at him and felt the room tilt. "Are you telling me you're leaving me at dinner?" "I'm telling you I already left emotionally a long time ago." Ethan's face went pale. "Mom?" I tried to answer him, but my throat felt dry and scraped raw. Daniel turned to Ethan with a soft voice, the kind he used when he wanted to sound wounded instead of cruel. "Your mother and I have been broken for years. Don't bring him into this," I said. "You brought him into it when you turned this house into a museum of resentment." I stared at him. "A museum?" "Yes, Claire. A museum. Every room in this house has been built around what happened at that hospital. What you lost. What you couldn't give. What everyone had to tiptoe around." Ethan pushed back from the table. "Dad, stop." Daniel did not stop. "I have stopped for 18 years. I stopped my own needs. I stopped my own happiness. I stopped myself from saying the truth because everyone was too scared of Claire falling apart again." The candle flame snapped when the air conditioner kicked on. I could smell wax and rosemary and the sharp whine on Daniel's breath. "You don't get to use that hospital against me," I said. Daniel gave a tired laugh. "There it is. The hospital. Always the hospital." Margaret set the gravy boat down carefully. "Claire, honey, he is not attacking you. He is trying to explain." I looked at her. "Is that what this sounds like to you?" She pressed her lips together. "I know you suffered. We all know that. But Daniel suffered too." Daniel nodded like a judge had just ruled in his favor. "Thank you, Mom." Ethan looked between all of us. "Who is Vanessa?" My stomach went cold. Daniel's eyes flicked toward me, then back to our son. "Vanessa is someone who stood by me when your mother couldn't." The sentence landed like a slap. "Couldn't?" I said. Daniel's mouth hardened. "Wouldn't." Ethan stood so fast his chair scraped the hardwood. "You're having an affair?" Daniel looked offended by the word. "I found love after years of loneliness." "That's an affair," Ethan said. Margaret reached for Ethan's arm. "Sweetheart, adult marriages are complicated." Ethan pulled away. "Don't do that, Grandma." Daniel's voice sharpened. "You will not disrespect your grandmother." "He's disrespecting Mom in her own house." Daniel pointed at me. "Your mother made this house cold long before Vanessa existed." My fingers found my phone under the edge of my cardigan. I do not know what part of me moved first. Maybe fear. Maybe instinct. Maybe the small, buried part of me that had learned long ago that when Daniel spoke softly, danger was usually hiding behind it. I opened the voice memo app under the table. The red button glowed beneath my thumb. I pressed record. "Say that again," I said. Daniel blinked. "What?" "You said I made this house cold." "Say it again clearly." He laughed once. "Are we performing now?" "No. I want to understand the story you're telling our son." Daniel leaned forward. "The story is simple. After Ethan was born, something in you shut off. You shut me out. You shut him out. You shut everyone out. That is not true. He looked at Ethan. She doesn't remember it the way everyone else does. My chest tightened. Ethan's eyes flickered. What does that mean? Daniel sighed like this hurt him more than anyone. It means your mother was not well after the hospital. She refused help. She refused me. And for a while, she refused you. The room went silent. I felt every inch of my skin go numb. Ethan looked at me as if someone had opened a trapdoor beneath his childhood. Mom? I stood slowly. No. Daniel lowered his voice. Claire. No. Don't make me say more than I have to. I looked at him. You already said enough. Margaret whispered, Claire, sit down. Please. This is too much for Ethan. I turned to her. He just told my son I rejected him as a baby, and your concern is that I sit down? Her cheeks flushed. I am saying this should be handled gently. Daniel scoffed. You never handled anything gently. That was the problem. I almost folded then. Not because of him. Because Ethan was staring at me with the eyes he had as a child when he was scared and trying not to show it. For 18 years, my greatest fear had been simple. That one day Daniel would make Ethan believe my silence meant guilt. I swallowed through the ache in my throat. Ethan, I said. I did not reject you. His jaw trembled. Then why would Dad say that? Daniel answered before I could. Because someone has to stop protecting her from the truth. I turned to him. You are not protecting anyone. You are rewriting pain you caused. Daniel's face changed. Just slightly. The softness dropped. What pain did I cause, Claire? I held his stare. You left me alone in a hospital bed after complications you still refuse to talk about. He shook his head. No. I left after doctors told me you needed rest and distance. That is a lie. Is it? Ethan's voice cracked. What hospital complications? Margaret put a hand over her mouth. Daniel, enough. But Daniel had gone too far to retreat cleanly. He looked at Ethan with practiced sorrow. You were born during a terrible week. Your mother's body went through trauma. Her mind went through trauma. And I did everything I could to keep you safe. Safe from what? Ethan asked. Daniel looked at me. From instability. I laughed, but it came out broken. Instability? He pointed at the table. This is what I mean. The shaking voice. The accusations. The dramatic pauses. Vanessa never made every conversation feel like a trial. I took one slow breath. Then another. The room smelled of cooling meat and candle smoke. My hands were still shaking, but my voice was not. Vanessa was there back then, wasn't she? Daniel's expression tightened. Margaret turned toward him. What does that mean? Ethan's eyes narrowed. Dad? Daniel stood. Vanessa helped with hospital paperwork. That is all. You said she stood by you when I couldn't, I said. Now she helped with paperwork? She was kind. She had access. He slammed his palm on the table. Do not turn this into some conspiracy because you cannot accept that I moved on. Ethan flinched. I saw it. Daniel saw it too, and immediately changed his tone. Son, I'm sorry. I did not want tonight to happen this way. Then why did you do it this way? Ethan asked. Daniel's eyes softened with fake patience. Because your mother would never let me leave peacefully. I looked at Ethan. Listen to me carefully. I will not ask you to choose between us tonight. Daniel muttered, how noble. I ignored him. But I am asking you not to decide the truth based on the first version you heard. Ethan swallowed. Did you ever refuse to hold me? The question nearly broke me. A private memory flashed so sharply I had to grip the chair. A white hospital bracelet around my wrist. A nurse saying, "Not yet, honey." My arms empty. A door closing before I could see who was on the other side. I looked at my son. "No. I begged for you." Daniel said, "That is not how I remember it." "Then we will find the records." He went still. "What?" I picked up my phone from under the cardigan and placed it face down beside my plate. "I said we will find the records." Margaret's eyes moved to the phone. "Claire, what have you done?" I looked at Daniel. I started listening. His face drained of color for half a second. Only half. Then he recovered. "You recorded a private family conversation? You announced your mistress at dinner and told our son I rejected him as a baby. Privacy was not your first concern." Ethan stared at the phone. "You recorded all of it?" "Yes." Daniel pointed at me again, but this time his finger was not steady. "This is exactly why I chose Vanessa. She doesn't trap people." I picked up my glass of water and took one careful sip. The water tasted metallic, like fear leaving my mouth. "No, Daniel," I said. "You chose Vanessa because she helped you build a story where I was the villain." He stepped back from the table. "You have no idea what you're accusing me of." "Not yet." Ethan looked at me. "What does that mean?" I reached for his hand, but stopped before touching him. I would not force comfort on him while his whole past was shaking. "It means I am going to find out what happened in that hospital." Daniel laughed, but it sounded thin. "You'll embarrass yourself." "Maybe." I looked at him, then at Margaret, then at our son. "But I will not let you bury my motherhood under your affair." For the first time that night, Daniel had no answer. Ethan looked down at the table, then back at me. "I want to know too." Daniel turned on him. "You are emotional right now." "No," Ethan said. "I'm listening." Margaret whispered, "Ethan, your father has carried a lot." Ethan looked at her with hurt in his eyes. "And what did Mom carry?" No one answered. The house went quiet around us. The candles kept burning. The dinner went cold. And in that silence I understood something Daniel did not. He thought choosing Vanessa was the betrayal. He had no idea the real betrayal had already been recorded years ago. Act 1 complete. I did not sleep that night. Daniel left the house before midnight with one suitcase, 2 dress shirts, and the calm face of a man who thought the worst part was over. Ethan stood at the bottom of the stairs while his father carried the suitcase past him. "Are you going to her?" Ethan asked. Daniel paused. "I am going somewhere peaceful." "That's not an answer." "It is the only answer I can give while your mother is recording people like criminals." I stood near the kitchen doorway with my arms folded. "You said what you meant when you thought nobody could prove it." Daniel looked at me with that tired pity again. "Claire, this is why I had to leave." "No. You had to leave because you got caught speaking plainly." He turned to Ethan. "I love you. When you calm down, call me." Ethan did not move. Daniel waited for a hug that never came. Then the front door opened, cold night air slipped across the hallway, and he walked out. The silence after him was worse than the shouting. Ethan looked at the door. Did he always talk about the hospital like that? I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect him from the size of it. But the lie had already entered the room, and I would not feed it with another one. "Yes," I said. Not always openly. But yes. Ethan rubbed both hands over his face. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were a child." "I'm not now." "No," I said. "You're not." His eyes were red, but his voice stayed controlled. "Then don't protect me with silence anymore." That sentence hurt more than Daniel's announcement. I nodded. "I won't." The next morning, Vanessa texted me at 8:12. "Not Daniel. Vanessa. Her message came in while I was sitting at the kitchen counter with untouched coffee cooling beside my hand. Claire, I know last night was painful. I truly never wanted you hurt. Daniel is exhausted, and Ethan deserves peace. Maybe we can all handle this with grace. I stared at the screen. Grace. That was the word people used when they wanted the wounded person to bleed quietly. Another message appeared. I do not want to replace you. I only want to stop the damage. My thumb hovered above the screen. Then I took a screenshot. I took another when the third message arrived. Daniel has carried so much since the hospital. Please do not make Ethan carry your anger too. My fingers went cold. Ethan walked in wearing the gray hoodie he used when he wanted to disappear inside himself. Who is it? Vanessa. His jaw tightened. She texted you? Yes. What did she say? I turned the phone toward him. He read the messages once. Then again. She talks like she's a therapist. She talks like someone building a record. Ethan looked at me. What does that mean? It means every sentence is soft enough to look harmless and sharp enough to blame me. He handed the phone back. Screenshot everything. I already did. For the first time since dinner, something changed in his face. Not trust exactly. But maybe the beginning of doubt. The next alert came from the bank. A transfer. $5,000 from our joint savings to Daniel's private checking account. The note said household transition. I laughed once, quietly. Ethan looked up. What? I showed him. His face hardened. He's taking money now? He started before last night. I opened the banking app and scrolled. There were smaller transfers too. 800. 1200. 300. All over the last 6 weeks. Some marked repairs. Some marked consulting. One marked VR. Ethan leaned closer. VR? Vanessa Reed. You know her last name? I know more than your father thinks I know. That was not completely true. But it needed to become true fast. I downloaded the statements. Then I forwarded them to Dana Holt, the attorney I had almost called 3 times over the past year and never did. My email was short. Dana, I need to speak today. Daniel announced he is leaving for Vanessa Reed. He made claims in front of Ethan about the hospital and Ethan's birth. I have a recording, screenshots, and suspicious transfers. I attached everything. My hand trembled before I hit send. Not because I was unsure. Because sending it meant admitting the marriage was not sick anymore. It was dead. Ethan sat across from me, watching. You have a lawyer? I have a name I should have used sooner. Why didn't you? I looked down at the coffee mug. The surface had gone still and dark. Because part of me kept waiting for your father to become the man he pretended he used to be. Ethan's expression softened. Mom. I know. It sounds foolish. No. It sounds human. That nearly undid me. The kitchen smelled like burnt toast from the slice Ethan had forgotten in the toaster. The sound of the clock above the pantry was too loud. I breathed through it. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Ethan and I stared at it. Don't answer, he said. I answered. Claire Harper. A woman's voice came through, smooth and low. Claire, it's Vanessa. Ethan's eyes widened. I put the phone on speaker. Why are you calling me? Because texts can feel cold, and I don't want that between us. There is an us? A soft sigh. I understand your anger. No, you don't. I understand more than you think. Ethan leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the phone. Vanessa continued. Daniel told me how hard things were after Ethan was born. He told me how alone he felt. How helpless. I closed my eyes for 1 second. Not from weakness. From recognition. She was not just defending an affair. She was protecting a timeline. Did Daniel also tell you I begged to see my son? A pause. That is not what I was told. By him? By people who were there. Ethan whispered, people? I said, who, Vanessa? Another pause. Claire, I worked in hospital support at the time. I knew staff. I knew how serious your condition was. The room seemed to narrow. You worked at St. Catherine's? I assisted with patient liaison services for a short period. Nothing dramatic. Ethan's face changed. The color left it. You knew my dad back then? Vanessa went silent. I said, answer him. Her voice returned softer. Ethan, sweetheart, I knew of your family. Your father was very frightened. Don't call me sweetheart. I'm sorry. I only mean that everyone was trying to protect you. From my mom? Vanessa exhaled. From chaos. The words slid through the kitchen like smoke. I gripped the edge of the counter. What chaos? Claire, please. I am not your enemy. You are calling my son's first days alive chaos. I am saying Daniel was under unbearable pressure. Ethan stood. You keep talking about Dad. What about Mom? Vanessa's voice sharpened for the first time. Your mother has had years to shape your feelings. I stared at the phone. There she was. Not kind. Not graceful. Just exposed for half a second. Ethan heard it too. My mother never told me any of this, he said. Dad did. Vanessa recovered quickly. I know this is emotional. No, Ethan said. It's getting specific. I looked at him. He looked back at me, and for the first time, he was not asking whether I was telling the truth. He was asking how deep the lie went. Vanessa said, Claire, I think the healthiest thing would be for you to let Daniel go without turning Ethan against him. I almost smiled. Daniel did that himself. You may regret escalating this. Ethan's eyes flashed. Was that a threat? No. It was concern. I picked up the phone. Concern does not sound like that. Vanessa lowered her voice. You are not the only one with memories of that hospital. The line went dead. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then Ethan said, she knew him back then. Yes. And Dad never said that. No. And she knew about my birth. I nodded. He sat down slowly. His fingers tapped once against the table, then stopped. Mom, what if the hospital has records? I was thinking the same thing. I went upstairs to the closet Daniel used to call my archive of misery. Inside an old blue storage box, beneath tax files and expired insurance cards, I found the folder from St. Catherine's. My discharge papers. A faded hospital wristband. Insurance letters. A note I had written years ago after waking from a dream about Ethan crying behind glass. I had saved it because I did not trust my own memory then. Now I was grateful for the woman I used to be. She had left me breadcrumbs. Ethan stood in the doorway. What is all that? Everything I kept when people told me to move on. He stepped inside carefully. Can I see? I handed him the top page. His eyes moved across the printed lines. Severe postpartum hemorrhage. Emergency intervention. Temporary separation due to maternal stabilization. His voice broke. This says temporary. Yes. Dad said you refused contact. I know. He looked at the next page. Where's the part about refusing? There isn't one. He looked at me, and the hurt in his face changed shape. It was no longer aimed at me. He lied. I wanted to grab onto that sentence. I wanted to cry into it. Instead, I stayed still. We do not have everything yet. But he lied about this part. Yes. My phone buzzed again. Dana Holt. Her reply was brief. Claire, preserve all recordings, screenshots, bank records, and medical documents. Do not argue with Daniel or Vanessa by phone. Forward everything. We need the full hospital file. I read it aloud. Ethan wiped his eyes with his sleeve and looked toward the old hospital folder. Then let's get it. I looked at my son standing among papers from the night he was born. The son I had been told I was too fragile to remember. The son who had been fed a story with my name cut into it like a warning. And somewhere beneath the ache, beneath the fear, beneath the old shame Daniel had wrapped around me for years, something quiet stood up. Not rage. Not revenge yet. A plan. By noon, Daniel had changed his story again. Not loudly. Not with a slammed door or another dinner table speech. He changed it in a text message to Ethan, written like a father trying to save his son from a storm. Ethan showed it to me without saying a word. Your mother is digging through medical trauma she has never fully processed. Please be careful. She may believe things that did not happen. I only told you what doctors told me at the time. Ethan's thumb hovered over the screen. He says doctors told him. I looked at the message until the letters blurred. Of course he does. What does that mean? It means he moved the lie from his mouth to someone else's. Ethan sat across from me at the kitchen table. The hospital folder lay between us, papers spread like pieces of a life someone had cut apart and hidden badly. His voice stayed careful. Mom, I need to ask you something, and I don't want you to think I'm choosing him. My chest tightened. Ask me. If you were sedated, or bleeding, or confused, is it possible you don't remember everything? The question hurt. But it was fair. I rubbed my thumb along the edge of an old discharge paper. The corner had softened with age. Yes, I said. It is possible I don't remember everything. Ethan swallowed. Then how do we know? I looked at him. Because not remembering everything is not the same as refusing you. He lowered his eyes. I know. No, Ethan. Listen to me. If I was unconscious, that was not refusal. If I was medicated, that was not refusal. If someone kept me away from you and called it protection, that was not refusal. He nodded slowly. Okay. My heartbeat felt heavy, not fast. Heavy was worse. Fast meant panic. Heavy meant grief had found somewhere to sit. I picked up the phone and called St. Catherine's Medical Records Department. A woman answered with the flat patience of someone who had said the same sentence 1,000 times. Medical records, this is Lauren. My name is Claire Harper. I need to request my records from my delivery and postpartum hospitalization 18 years ago. Date of service? I gave it. There was typing. Records that old may be archived. We can send a release form. I need the complete file. You can request your file, Mrs. Harper, but some neonatal records would belong to the child. My son is 18. He is here. Ethan leaned closer. Lauren said, then he can submit his own authorization for his birth and neonatal records. Ethan took the phone from my hand. This is Ethan Harper. Tell me what I need to sign. His voice was steady. Too steady. The kind of steady people used when they were holding themselves together with both hands. Lauren explained the forms, the identification, the waiting period, the archive request fee. Ethan wrote everything down. When he hung up, he looked at me. I'm requesting mine today. You don't have to do it this second. Yes, I do. The printer hummed in Daniel's old office. That sound used to mean bills, school essays, tax forms, normal life. Now it sounded like the first door opening. Ethan printed both forms. I signed mine. He signed his. I scanned our IDs, attached the documents, and sent the requests before I could lose courage. Then I forwarded the confirmation emails to Dana. Ethan watched the sent folder. That's it? That's the beginning. He looked toward the hallway. Dad is going to know. Probably. Good. The answer surprised me. I studied his face. You sound angry. I am angry. At me? His eyes lifted. No. The word came quickly. Then guilt crossed his face. I was. A little. Last night. I know. I hate that. You were handed a story when you were too young to question it. He pressed his palm against his forehead. He told me little pieces for years. The room seemed colder. What pieces? Ethan leaned back. Like when I was 12 and didn't want to go to that summer camp. He said, your mom gets scared when people leave because of what happened after you were born. I closed my eyes. Ethan kept going. When I asked why you got quiet around my birthday sometimes, he said, some mothers have complicated feelings. My throat burned. And you believed him. I didn't know he was making me believe something. It sounded like he was explaining you. I nodded. That was the cruelest kind of lie. The one dressed as understanding. I used to get quiet around your birthday because I remembered waking up without you. Ethan's face broke. Mom. I remember the blanket they said was yours. Blue stripes. Soft edges. I remember asking if I could see you. I remember a nurse touching my shoulder and saying, not yet, honey. His eyes filled. And then? And then Daniel told me later that I had been too unstable. That everyone was worried. That I should be grateful you were safe. Ethan whispered, safe from you. I looked down at my hands. The veins looked raised and blue beneath the skin. That was what he wanted me to believe too. The doorbell rang. Both of us froze. Ethan stood first. I'll get it. No. I will. Daniel stood on the porch in a navy coat, one hand in his pocket, his wedding ring still on his finger. Behind him, the street was bright with winter sun. He looked past me into the house. Is Ethan here? Yes. I want to speak with my son. Ethan appeared behind me. You can speak here. Daniel's jaw flexed. Not with your mother hovering. I'm not a child. Daniel sighed. Fine. He stepped inside without being invited. The familiar smell of his cedar aftershave entered before he did, and for a second my body remembered being young and trusting him. Then he looked at the papers on the table. His expression sharpened. What is all this? Forms, Ethan said. What forms? Hospital records. Daniel turned to me. You had no right. Ethan moved closer to the table. They're my records. Daniel's voice softened instantly. Son, you need to understand something. Medical files do not tell the whole story. Then why are you scared of them? I am not scared. You look scared. Daniel laughed under his breath. That is your mother's influence talking. No, Ethan said. That is me watching you walk in here and panic over paperwork. Daniel's eyes flashed. Careful. I stepped forward. Do not threaten him. I am warning him against being manipulated. Ethan picked up Daniel's text from his phone and read aloud. She may believe things that did not happen. Daniel looked uncomfortable. That was private. So was Mom's childbirth. Silence filled the room. Daniel recovered, but slower this time. You think you are uncovering some grand secret because your mother found old papers. The truth is uglier and simpler. She was not herself. Doctors limited contact because she was distressed. Which doctor? Ethan asked. Daniel blinked. What? Name the doctor. Daniel looked at me. This is absurd. Ethan did not move. Name one doctor who said Mom refused me. Daniel's mouth opened. Closed. Then he said, "It has been 18 years. But you remembered enough to blame her." Daniel's face hardened. "Your mother would not even look at you when they brought you near the room." I felt the floor drop inside me. That never happened. You were turned away from the door. By who? He pointed at me like the question itself offended him. You were crying, sedated, incoherent. I made the decision any father would make. Ethan stared at him. What decision? Daniel hesitated. There it was. A seam in the story. I protected you. From what? From seeing your mother in a state that could have harmed you. I was a newborn. Daniel's voice rose. Exactly. Ethan looked at me, then back at him. Newborns don't remember hospital rooms. Daniel went still. I saw him realize the mistake. He had built the lie for a frightened child, not an adult who could question structure. His phone buzzed. He looked down. I saw Vanessa's name flash before he turned the screen away. Ethan saw it too. Ask her, he said. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Ask who? Vanessa. Since she was there. Daniel's calm finally cracked. She was not there the way you are implying. But she was there. She worked there. You never told me that. I didn't owe a child every painful detail. No. But you owed me the truth about my own mother. Daniel stared at him. For 1 second, I saw anger without the mask. Then pity came back. You are young. You want a villain. Ethan's voice dropped. No. I want a file. Daniel turned to me. You are enjoying this. I almost answered with anger. Instead, I spoke quietly. No. I am surviving it. That stopped him more than shouting would have. His face flickered. Maybe with memory. Maybe with guilt. Maybe with irritation that guilt still existed. I came to offer a path forward, he said. A path? I asked. Yes. Drop the hospital obsession. Let the divorce proceed quietly. Keep Ethan out of adult pain. I will be generous. Ethan laughed once. Generous with money you already moved? Daniel's eyes snapped to him. What did she show you? Enough. I looked at Daniel. Leave. He stepped closer. You are making a mistake. No. I made those for years. This is correction. He looked at Ethan. If you keep digging, you may find things you wish you hadn't. Ethan's face paled, but he did not step back. Then at least they'll be real. Daniel left harder than he entered. The door closed behind him, and the glass in the frame trembled. 3 days later, Ethan's first partial record arrived by secure email. We opened it together at the kitchen table. Most of it was routine. Wait. APGAR score. Feeding notes. Observation notes. Then Ethan stopped scrolling. Mom. I leaned closer. A line sat halfway down the page. Restricted maternal contact pending paternal authorization and liaison review. My breath left me. Ethan read it again. Paternal authorization? I clicked the next page. Blank. The reason field was missing. The reviewer's signature was missing. The attached memo was missing. Ethan looked at me with tears standing in his eyes. He signed something. I could not speak. The room was quiet except for the refrigerator humming and the tiny click of Ethan's laptop as his fingers tightened on the edge. For 18 years, Daniel had called my emptiness instability. Now the paper had a different name for it. Restriction. The missing page became louder than any page we had. Ethan printed the partial file and set it beside my old discharge papers. Neither of us touched it for a while. The words sat there in black ink. Restricted maternal contact pending paternal authorization and liaison review. Ethan read it for the fourth time. Paternal authorization means dad. Yes. And liaison review means Vanessa? Not automatically. He looked at me. But maybe. I wanted to say no because a mother's first instinct is still to soften the sharp edge before it reaches her child. But soft edges had protected Daniel for too long. Maybe, I said. Ethan nodded once. His face had gone quiet in a way I did not like. Not peaceful. Contained. I'm calling the archive department again. Ethan. No. They gave me half a file. They may not release more over the phone. Then they can tell me who can. He called from the kitchen, standing near the window with the laptop open on the counter. The morning sun hit his face, making him look younger than 18 and older than I could bear. Yes, this is Ethan Harper. I received a partial neonatal record, but the restriction memo and reviewer signature are missing. He paused. No, I'm not asking for my mother's file. I'm asking for mine. Another pause. His jaw tightened. Then who approved the restriction? I stood by the sink and gripped the cold edge of the counter. The metal bit into my palm. Ethan listened, then grabbed a pen. Can you repeat that name? My heart stopped its normal rhythm. He wrote slowly. Paula Brooks. Was she a doctor? He listened again. Retired nurse supervisor. Okay. And the liaison reviewer? His eyes moved to me. Initials only? He wrote again. VR. The pen stopped. The house seemed to lose sound. Ethan said, "Thank you. Please send the written archive response to my email." He hung up and stared at the paper. VR. I swallowed. Vanessa Reed. He looked at me. Mom. I know. She was in the file. We still need proof. He laughed once, but there was nothing young in it. How much proof does a lie get before it has to stop being treated politely? I did not answer. My phone buzzed. Vanessa. I stared at her name as if staring hard enough could make it disappear. Ethan said, "Don't answer." I won't. A text appeared. Claire, I heard you and Ethan are contacting St. Catherine's. Please be careful. Old clinical notes can be misunderstood, especially by children looking for someone to blame. Ethan read it over my shoulder. She knows. Another message came. I truly hope you are prepared for Ethan to read things about your state of mind that may be painful for him. Some mothers would rather protect their sons from that. The kitchen smelled faintly of lemon soap and cold coffee. My stomach turned. She is trying to scare you, Ethan said. No, I said. She is trying to scare me into protecting Daniel's life for him. My thumb moved before my fear could stop it. Screenshot. Forward. Dana replied within minutes. Do not engage. Save all messages. Build timeline. We need every date connected. So I did. I opened a blank document. At the top, I typed Ethan's birth week. Then I added everything. Emergency admission. Hemorrhage. Temporary separation. Daniel's first story. Daniel's second story. Vanessa's texts. Bank transfers. Paternal authorization. Liaison review. VR. Ethan watched me type. You're making a case. I'm making a map. To what? To the room they locked me out of. He sat down beside me. I want to help. You already are. No. I want to do something real. I turned to him. You are not responsible for fixing what they did. He looked at the printed file. I'm responsible for what I do after I know. That line stayed in the room. The doorbell rang again that afternoon. This time it was Olivia. Daniel's younger sister stood on the porch holding a paper bag from the bakery down the street. Her hair was tucked under a wool hat. Her eyes looked tired. "I brought muffins," she said. I looked at the bag. "Is this an apology or surveillance?" She flinched. "That's fair." Ethan came down the stairs. "Aunt Olivia." "Hey, kid." "I'm not a kid." She nodded. "No. You're not." I stepped aside and let her in. She looked around the kitchen like she expected to find broken dishes or police tape. Instead, she found documents, highlighters, and my laptop open to the timeline. Olivia set the muffins on the counter. "Danielle says you're spiraling." Ethan crossed his arms. "Dad says a lot." Olivia looked at him. "He is scared." "Of Mom?" "No." She hesitated. "Of what this is becoming." I folded my arms. "What is it becoming, Olivia?" She glanced at the papers. "I don't know." "Then why are you here?" Her fingers tightened around the bakery receipt. "Because Danielle asked me to talk sense into you." Ethan scoffed. "So this is surveillance?" Olivia lowered her eyes. "It started that way." I waited. She looked at me again. But then Vanessa called me. The air changed. "What did she say?" I asked. "She said you were forcing Ethan through your trauma." She said Daniel might need witnesses, that he tried to keep things civil. Ethan stepped forward. "Witnesses?" Olivia nodded. "She wanted me to write down anything strange you said." I almost laughed. Vanessa had moved from fake care to collection. How kind of her. Olivia looked ashamed. I told her I was not doing that. Ethan's anger softened a little. "Why?" "Because she sounded too prepared." I leaned against the counter. "What does that mean?" She didn't sound worried about Daniel. She sounded worried about paper. I looked at Ethan. He looked back. Olivia's voice dropped. "And she asked if you had found the liaison initials yet." My skin went cold. "She said that?" "Yes." Exact words. Olivia swallowed. She said, "Has Claire found the liaison initials yet, or is she still chasing feelings?" Ethan's face hardened. "She knew what was missing." Olivia nodded. That's when I stopped defending her. I opened the timeline and typed the quote. Olivia watched. "Are you writing everything down?" "Yes." Daniel used to mock my notes. He called them anxious lists. Now they were becoming the only language his lies could not interrupt. Olivia took off her hat and sat at the table. "I need to ask you something." I nodded. "Did Daniel know Vanessa during the hospital?" Olivia rubbed her hands together. "I thought he met her because she helped with paperwork." "That is knowing her." "No, I mean I thought she was just staff. Temporary. Useful." "I never thought." She stopped. "You never thought what?" "I never thought she stayed in his life." Ethan said, "She didn't stay in his life by accident." Olivia looked at him with pain in her eyes. "I know." There it was. A shift. Not full loyalty. Not yet. But doubt had finally crossed the table. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Dana's warning flashed in my mind. Do not argue by phone. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the transcript appeared. Claire, this is Vanessa. I am disappointed that you are choosing hostility. You should remember St. Catherine's documented everything. If you drag Ethan through those files, he may learn why Daniel had to step in. I hope you can live with that. Ethan read it aloud. His voice was flat by the end. Olivia whispered, that sounded like a threat. I looked at the screen. No. Ethan looked at me sharply. It was. It was meant to be. Then why are you saying no? Because I am done letting her choose the name for what she does. I forwarded the voicemail transcript to Dana. Then I saved the audio. Then I backed it up to cloud storage and emailed it to myself. Ethan watched every step. 3 copies? 4. Good. Olivia stared at me. I didn't know you could be this calm. I looked at her. Neither did I. That was the truth. My fear was still there. It sat under my ribs like a stone. But for the first time, it was not steering. Before sunset, Ethan received another email from St. Catherine's archive office. He opened it with me and Olivia standing behind him. Dear Mr. Harper, regarding your request for the supplemental visitor restriction memo, archived indexing indicates the memo was filed under supervisory incident review. Records reference retired nurse supervisor Paula Brooks and liaison initials VR. Full release requires compliance review due to third-party employee references. Ethan read the name again. Paula Brooks. Olivia whispered, I know that name. I turned to her. How? She frowned. Daniel mentioned her once. Years ago. He said she was a problem nurse who didn't understand boundaries. My chest tightened. When did he say that? After Ethan came home. Maybe a few weeks later. I remember because Mom asked why Claire still hadn't been invited to one of the follow-up visits. Ethan looked at her. Grandma asked that? Olivia nodded. And Dad said Paula Brooks had filled everyone's head with drama. Why didn't you ask more? Ethan said. Olivia's eyes filled. Because I was 25, Daniel was my big brother, and everyone told me your mother was fragile. I looked away. The word fragile had followed me for 18 years like a chain. Fragile meant do not believe her anger. Fragile meant do not trust her memory. Fragile meant take her baby, then call her unstable when she cries. Ethan closed the laptop. If you believe receipts matter more than polished lies, stay with the last receipt, because the next page changed everything. Olivia wiped under her eye. What do we do now? I looked at the printed file, the timeline, the screenshots, and the name Paula Brooks written in Ethan's careful handwriting. We find the nurse Daniel called a problem. Ethan nodded. And Vanessa? I picked up my phone and opened the folder of saved messages. We let her keep talking. The sun dropped behind the neighbor's roof, and the kitchen filled with blue evening light. For once, the darkness did not feel like something closing in. It felt like cover. And under that cover, quietly, carefully, we began looking for Paula Brooks. Paula Brooks lived 40 minutes outside town in a small brick house with white shutters and a narrow porch lined with winter plants. Ethan found her through a retired nurses association listing. Dana told us not to surprise her. So I called first. The phone rang 6 times before an older woman answered. Paula Brooks speaking. My hand tightened around the steering wheel. My name is Claire Harper. Silence. Then a careful breath. I wondered if this day would come. Ethan looked at me from the passenger seat. You remember me? I asked. I remember your name. My son and I need to speak with you about St. Catherine's. Another pause. I am retired. I know. I cannot discuss private hospital matters. I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to tell us why my son's neonatal file says restricted maternal contact. The line went quiet again. Then she said, Is your son with you? Yes. Is he old enough to ask for himself? Ethan leaned closer. I'm 18. My name is Ethan Harper. Paula's voice changed. Softer. Oh, honey. Ethan closed his eyes. I need to know what happened. For a long moment, there was only static. Then Paula said, Come at 2. Bring identification. I will not hand you records, but I can tell you what I remember. Her house smelled like peppermint tea and old paper. She opened the door before we knocked twice. Paula Brooks was smaller than I expected, with silver hair pinned back and sharp blue eyes that looked like they had watched too many people lie badly. She looked at me first. Then at Ethan. Her hand lifted to her chest. "You have his eyes," she said. Ethan frowned. "My father's?" "No," Paula said. "Your mother's." I had to look away. A small ache opened behind my ribs. Paula led us into a sitting room with floral chairs and a fireplace that clicked softly with electric heat. No one sat right away. She looked at the folder in Ethan's hand. "You brought copies?" "Yes," Ethan said. "Good. Keep the originals safe." I said, "Dana Holt, my attorney, told us to preserve everything." Paula nodded. "Smart woman." Ethan stepped forward. "Did my father restrict Mom from seeing me?" Paula closed her eyes. "Sit down first." "I don't want to sit." "Then stand. But breathe before I answer." He did. So did I. Paula lowered herself into the chair near the fireplace. "I need to be clear. I cannot claim access to everything that happened in administration. But I was nursing supervisor during part of that week." "Part of it?" I asked. "I was pulled in after concerns were raised." "What concerns?" She looked at me. "Your repeated requests to see your baby were not being answered." The room blurred for 1 second. "Ethan whispered?" she asked. Paula nodded. "Every time she was awake enough." My fingers went numb around the strap of my purse. "What did I say?" Paula's mouth trembled. "You kept saying, 'Please tell him I'm here.'" Ethan turned away. His shoulders rose and fell once. Only once. I pressed my palm against my knee. The fabric of my jeans felt rough under my hand, grounding me. Daniel had stolen many things. But hearing someone else remember my words felt like a piece of myself returning. Paula continued. "You were weak. Frightened. Sometimes disoriented from blood loss and medication. But you were not indifferent." Ethan faced her again. "Did she refuse to hold me?" "No." The word landed clean and final. "No?" Ethan said. "No," Paula repeated. "I never saw that. I saw the opposite." I covered my mouth. Paula looked at me with a sorrow that did not pity me. "There were delays because of your medical condition. That part was real. But the restriction note was not standard for what I observed." Ethan opened the file with shaking hands. "This says paternal authorization." Paula's eyes dropped to the page. "Yes. My father signed it?" "I was told he approved limited contact until a liaison review." "By Vanessa Reed?" I asked. Paula's jaw tightened. She was not clinical staff. But she had access. She had enough access to make herself useful. Ethan's voice hardened. "What does that mean?" Paula looked at him. "It means your father was exhausted, scared, and angry." Vanessa Reed stayed close to him under the excuse of helping with paperwork, visitor coordination, insurance calls, anything that let her stand near the decision-making. I whispered, "I knew it." Paula shook her head. "You may have suspected. But you need to understand the shape of it." Ethan stepped closer. "Tell me." Paula took a slow breath. "Your father told staff your mother became emotionally unsafe when your name was mentioned." "That's a lie," I said. "Yes." The fireplace clicked. Paula folded her hands in her lap. "He said seeing you could destabilize her and risk her recovery." "He said doctors agreed." I asked which doctors. Nobody gave me a clean answer. Ethan's face twisted. "So he made Mom look dangerous. He made her look fragile enough to ignore." That sentence struck so deep I could not breathe for a moment. Fragile enough to ignore. I looked at the window behind Paula. Bare branches scratched softly against the glass. A private memory surfaced. I was in a hospital bed, lips cracked, arm heavy within 4, trying to lift my head when the door opened. I heard a baby cry somewhere down the hall. I said, "Is that him?" Someone said, "Rest now." Then the door closed. I blinked back tears. I heard him cry. Paula's eyes softened. "You did." Ethan stared at me. "You heard me?" "I think so." He sat then, as if his legs had stopped helping him. Paula reached for a tissue box but did not offer it like a command. She set it on the table between us. "Vanessa pushed the language," Paula said. "What language?" Ethan asked. "Restriction. Liaison review. Maternal volatility." I flinched. Ethan noticed. "Maternal volatility?" Paula nodded. "It was a phrase that did not belong in your chart without stronger clinical backing." "Did you challenge it?" Ethan asked. "I did." "What happened?" "I was told the father had legal authority while the mother was medically impaired, and that family requested no unnecessary agitation." I looked at her. "Family?" Paula's face tightened. "Daniel." And later his mother repeated that he was only trying to protect everyone. "Margaret," Ethan said. Paula nodded. She may not have known the whole truth. I wanted to hate Margaret completely in that moment. But the truth was uglier. Daniel had used everyone's fear of me against me. Even people who loved him. Even people who might have helped. "Did you write an incident memo?" I asked. Paula looked down. "Yes." Ethan leaned forward. "What did it say?" "That maternal requests for neonatal contact were being delayed without clear physician order. That liaison involvement appeared inappropriate. That paternal instruction was being treated as clinical necessity." My mouth went dry. "And Vanessa's name?" "Yes." Ethan whispered, "VR." Paula nodded. "Vanessa Reed." A sound came out of me before I could stop it. Not a sob. Not exactly. More like the body recognizing a wound by its name. Paula turned to me. "I am sorry." I shook my head. "No. Don't give me sorry yet. Give me everything you remember." Her eyes sharpened again. "Good." For the next hour, she did. She told us Daniel argued outside the nursery. She told us Vanessa carried forms she should not have been carrying. She told us Margaret stood in the hallway once, crying, asking if I had really said I did not want the baby. "She asked that?" I said. Paula nodded. "I told her I had heard no such thing." She looked confused. Ethan rubbed both hands over his face. "Grandma knew something was wrong." "She doubted," Paula said. "But doubt is weak when the loudest person sounds certain." That sentence stayed with me. Ethan asked, "Would you sign a statement?" Paula's eyes moved to the fireplace. "I was afraid you would ask." "Why?" "Because hospitals protect themselves. People protect old decisions. And I am old enough to know truth can still cost you." I leaned forward. "Paula, Daniel used your silence to make my son believe I rejected him." Her face changed. I had not said it cruelly. I said it plainly. That made it harder to dodge. Paula looked at Ethan. "And you believed that?" Ethan swallowed. "For a long time." She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. "Then I will sign." Ethan's shoulders dropped. "Thank you. I will sign only what I personally remember. No guesses. No drama." "That's all we want," I said. She stood slowly and went to a small desk near the window. Her hand shook as she wrote, but her words were steady. While she wrote, my phone buzzed. "Dana." I stepped into the hallway and answered. "Claire, Daniel's attorney just sent a cease and desist." My skin prickled. "For what?" Harassment, defamation, misuse of private medical material, and alienation of parental relationship. I almost laughed. He is accusing me of alienating Ethan? Yes. And threatening emergency filing if you contact more former hospital staff. I looked back into the sitting room. Ethan was watching Paula sign the statement. No, I said. Dana paused. No? No. I am not stopping because Daniel discovered paperwork has consequences. Good. Do not contact anyone else directly for now. Let me handle formal requests. What about Paula? If she is willing, get her signed statement and contact details. We will preserve it. I hung up and returned. Ethan looked up. What happened? Your father sent a legal threat. Paula stopped writing. Ethan's face hardened. He knows. He suspects. Paula signed the bottom of the page. Then he should be worried. She handed the statement to Ethan first. Not me. He read it silently. His lips parted halfway through. What is it? I asked. He looked at Paula. You mentioned a letter. Paula's expression softened. Yes. My pulse changed. What letter? Paula looked at me. You wrote one. A short note to your son. You were too weak to visit, and you asked us to place it with his bassinet. The walls seemed to move back. I wrote to Ethan? You did. Ethan's voice was almost gone. What did it say? I do not remember every word. Paula touched the signed page. But I remember the first line. I braced myself. She looked at Ethan. She wrote, I am here. Please wait for me. Ethan pressed the heel of his hand against his mouth. I could not move. For years, Daniel had told our son my absence was rejection. But somewhere in a file, in my own handwriting, was proof that even when my body failed me, my love had tried to reach him. Paula said quietly, the letter was scanned into the supplemental chart. Ethan looked at me. Dad had my chart. Yes, I said. He knew. My voice came out calm. Too calm. Yes. Ethan folded Paula's statement with careful hands. Then he stood and looked toward the window, where winter light lay pale across the floor. He didn't just lie about you. I waited. Ethan turned back to me. He kept your first words to me from me. And that was the moment my despair ended. Not because the pain was gone. Because the truth had finally become stronger than the story Daniel built over it. Daniel did not wait for the divorce to be settled before planning a wedding. That was how I learned he was not just leaving me. He was trying to replace the ending before anyone could read the middle. Olivia called me on a Thursday morning. Her voice was low, almost ashamed. Claire, I need to tell you something before Daniel spins it. I was standing in the laundry room, folding one of Ethan's old college sweatshirts even though he had not left for college yet. What did he do? He and Vanessa are getting married Saturday. My hand stopped. Saturday? At St. Catherine's. The sweatshirt slipped from my fingers into the basket. I stared at it. The hospital. Of course. Daniel had a gift for choosing places that already held my pain and calling the choice coincidence. Why there? I asked. Olivia exhaled. Vanessa is helping with some charity dedication for the new family wing. They are using the chapel afterward. Small ceremony. Donors. Hospital people. Family. Family. I know. Were we invited? No. Her voice broke slightly. But Ethan was. I closed my eyes. The room smelled like detergent and warm cotton. For a second, I felt 18 years younger, trapped behind a hospital door, hearing decisions being made outside rooms I could not enter. Then I opened my eyes. Did Ethan know? No. Daniel asked Mom to invite him. Margaret? Yes. And did she? There was a pause. She called him last night. My stomach tightened. Olivia. She didn't know what Daniel was doing. Not all of it. She knew enough to make a choice. I know. I found Ethan in the garage, sitting on the steps with Paula Brooks's signed statement in his hands. He looked up before I spoke. I already know. Grandma called you? Yes. What did she say? That Dad wanted me there because family healing should start somewhere. I sat beside him. What did you say? I asked if Mom was invited. And? She cried. I looked toward the closed garage door. Outside, a truck rolled by, tires hissing over wet pavement. She cried because she knew the answer was wrong. Ethan folded Paula's statement carefully. Dana got the hospital compliance letter this morning. My head turned. What? He picked up his phone and showed me. The email was from Dana. The supplemental chart scan had been released to her through compliance review. There was Paula's incident summary. There was the visitor restriction memo. There was Vanessa Reed's liaison notation. And there was my letter. A scan of a small paper with my handwriting slanting unevenly across the page. I am here. Please wait for me. I love you before I even know your face. My throat closed. Ethan's thumb shook near the screen. She sent it to me too. You read it? He nodded. I read it 10 times. I don't remember writing all of it. I do now. That sentence broke something open in me. I reached for his hand. This time, he reached back. His fingers were cold. Mom, he said. I'm going to the wedding. No. Yes. No, Ethan. This is not your burden to carry in front of a room full of people. It became mine when he invited me to bless the lie. I shook my head. He will twist it. Vanessa will cry. People will think you are angry and unstable because that is the story they prepared for you too. Then I won't be angry. He looked at Paula's statement, then my letter on his phone. I'll be clear. The chapel at St. Catherine's looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe because memory had made everything there enormous. The hallway outside it smelled like polished wood, old flowers, and hospital sanitizer. Bright lights reflected off the floor. People spoke in careful voices because hospitals make even gossip sound respectful. That was why Daniel chose it. No one expected a scene in a chapel. No one expected a son to interrupt vows beside a family wing dedication plaque. No one expected a mother in a gray coat to stand quietly near the back with her lawyer beside her and a retired nurse 2 rows away. Vanessa stood at the front in ivory, not white. A detail chosen to look humble. Daniel wore a dark suit and the face he used for donors, judges, and relatives who needed managing. Margaret sat in the front row twisting a tissue in her lap. Olivia sat beside her, rigid and pale. Ethan stood near me until the music began. Then he whispered, "If I freeze, remind me why I'm here." I looked at him. "You're here because the truth has your name on it." He nodded. If you have ever watched someone rewrite your life in public, stay for the truth, because this is where silence finally broke. The officiant began with a soft voice. Today we gather in a place devoted to healing, to witness Daniel and Vanessa choose a future built on devotion, endurance, and grace. Vanessa lowered her eyes. Daniel smiled at her. I felt Dana shift beside me. "Breathe," she whispered. I did. The air was cold in my lungs. Vanessa took Daniel's hands. "For years," she said, "I watched you carry pain with dignity. I stood by you in the hardest hospital nights, when others could not, and I learned what loyalty meant." Ethan moved. Not fast. Not dramatically. He stepped into the aisle with a folder in one hand and his phone in the other. "Before you promise forever," he said, "I need everyone to know what you did to my mother." The room gasped once. Daniel turned. Ethan, put that down. That was his only reaction. The old command. The father voice. The voice that had worked when Ethan was 12. It did not work now. Ethan looked at the officiant. I'm sorry to interrupt. But this chapel is part of the hospital where I was born. And the woman standing there just used my birth to make herself look loyal. Vanessa went still. Not pale. Still. Like someone caught holding a match near curtains. Ethan opened the folder. My father told me for years that my mother refused me after I was born. He told me she was unstable. He told me he protected me from her. Margaret covered her mouth. Ethan did not look at her. That was not true. He held up the first page. This is my neonatal record. It says maternal contact was restricted pending paternal authorization and liaison review. He held up the second page. This is the supplemental memo. The liaison initials are VR Vanessa Reed. Vanessa whispered, Ethan, you don't understand those documents. He did not answer her. He held up the third page. This is a signed statement from Paula Brooks, the retired nurse supervisor. She states that my mother repeatedly asked to see me, and those requests were delayed without a clear physician order. Paula stood slowly in the second row. Her voice was not loud. But it carried. That is correct. Ethan's hand shook once. Then steadied. And this is the letter my mother wrote to me from her hospital bed. He looked at me for the first time. My vision blurred, but I did not look away. He read it. I am here. Please wait for me. I love you before I even know your face. The chapel became silent. No whispering. No music. No shifting chairs. Just silence. Ethan lowered the paper. My father hid this from me. Vanessa Reed helped mark my mother as volatile while she was medically impaired. Then 18 years later, they used the same lie to justify an affair, a divorce, and this wedding. Daniel took one step forward. Son, this is private family pain. Ethan looked at him. No. This is evidence. The officiant closed the book in his hands. This chapel will not be used to bless a lie. That was the consequence line. Clean. Firm. Final. Dana stepped forward then, calm as stone. St. Catherine's compliance office has already received the file. A formal complaint regarding misuse of liaison access has been submitted. Mr. Harper, any further intimidation of my client or her son will be handled through counsel. Vanessa turned toward a man near the front row, someone in a hospital board badge. He did not come to save her. Instead, he said quietly, Ms. Reed, please step aside with me. Her face changed then. Not sorrow. Not shock. Rage, hidden under years of perfect softness, finally finding no fabric left to wear. She looked at me. You always got to be the tragedy. I did not answer. Ethan did. No. She was the mother. Vanessa's eyes filled, but I did not trust a single tear. I helped your father survive. You helped him steal my first story. Daniel reached for Ethan's arm. Ethan stepped back before contact. Do not. Daniel's hand dropped. Margaret stood from the front row. Her tissue was crushed in her fist. Daniel, she said, tell me you didn't know about the letter. Daniel looked at her. For the first time, his silence told the truth faster than his words ever had. Margaret's face collapsed. Oh, my God. Olivia put an arm around her, but her eyes stayed on her brother. No defense. No excuse. No family shield. The room had finally run out of places to hide him. Ethan came back down the aisle. He stopped in front of me and held out the printed scan. I think this belongs to us. I took it with both hands. The paper was smooth, but my fingers remembered the hospital bed, the 4 tape, the weight of a pen I barely had strength to hold. I looked past Ethan at Daniel. He was still standing at the front of the chapel, beside flowers chosen for a future built on theft. "I did not come here to ruin your wedding," I said. My voice sounded calm even to me. "I came because our son deserved to hear the truth in the same place you buried it." Daniel said nothing. Vanessa was led through the side door by the board representative. The officiant stepped away from the altar. The ceremony was over. Not with screaming. Not with a fight. With a folder. With a letter. With a son who had learned that truth does not need to shout when it has finally been heard. Ethan put his arm around my shoulders as we walked out of the chapel. The hallway lights were still too bright. The floor still smelled of polish and sanitizer. But this time, no one was keeping me from my child. This time, he walked out with me. Daniel did not follow us into the hallway. For once, he stayed exactly where the truth left him. Ethan and I walked past the hospital dedication plaque, past the polished donor wall, past the chapel doors that had closed behind a wedding that never became a marriage. Dana walked beside us. Paula Brooks followed a few steps back with Olivia and Margaret. No one spoke until we reached the parking lot. The winter air hit my face, cold and clean. Ethan looked at the letter in my hand. "Are you okay?" I looked down at the scan. My handwriting was uneven. Weak. Alive. "No," I said. "But I'm not lost anymore." He nodded like that was enough. Margaret came toward us slowly. Her coat was buttoned wrong, one side higher than the other. Her hand shook around the crushed tissue. "Claire." I did not move. Ethan shifted closer to me. Margaret saw it, and pain crossed her face. "I defended him," she said. "Yes." I told myself Daniel was protecting everyone. "Yes." I told myself you were too fragile to know what was best. I looked at her. That word did a lot of damage. Her eyes filled. "I know that now." "You knew enough then to ask questions." She lowered her head. "I did. And when the answers frightened me, I stopped asking." Ethan's voice was quiet. "Grandma, you asked if Mom had been invited to my follow-up visit." Margaret looked at him, startled. "How do you know that?" Olivia remembered. Margaret turned toward Olivia. Olivia did not apologize for telling. She only said, "He deserved to know." Margaret pressed the tissue against her mouth. "I did ask. Daniel told me your mother needed distance. He said the doctors were worried. He said I would make things worse if I pushed." "And you believed him," Ethan said. "I wanted to." That was the first honest thing she had said. I felt no warmth toward her yet. But honesty did not sound like defense. It sounded like the door opening a crack. Dana touched my arm. "We should go. Daniel's attorney will probably contact me before sunset." Ethan looked toward the chapel doors. "What happens to Vanessa?" Dana's face stayed calm. "The hospital will investigate her role. If she misused access or influenced documentation, there may be employment, licensing, or legal consequences." "And Dad?" "Your father can no longer credibly use the hospital story against your mother. The financial transfers are documented. The recording is preserved. His leverage just collapsed." I looked at Dana. "I don't want a performance." "You won't need one." "I don't want to destroy him just to feel better." Dana nodded. "Then we aim for protection, correction, and accountability." Ethan looked at me. "That sounds like you." I almost smiled. "Does it?" "Yeah. Angry, but organized." Paula Brooks gave a soft laugh. "That is the best kind." Margaret wiped her eyes. "Claire, I know I have no right to ask. But can I read the letter?" My fingers tightened around the paper. For a moment, I saw the hospital bed again. The 4 tape. The dim wall light. The empty ache in my arms. No, I said. Margaret flinched. Then I softened my voice. Not today. She nodded quickly. Of course. I'm sorry. Ethan said, it's not a family document. It's ours. Margaret looked at him. You're right. Olivia stepped forward. There is something else. I turned. She took out her phone. I did not want to dump this on you in the chapel. What is it? I asked. Family group messages. From before Daniel announced the divorce. Ethan's jaw tightened. Olivia held out the phone. Daniel told Mom and me that you had become paranoid, that you might try to poison Ethan against Vanessa, and that he needed everyone to keep communication away from you until he could manage the transition. I read the screen. Daniel's words were neat. Reasonable. Cruel. Claire will spiral if she learns too much too quickly. Ethan needs stability. Vanessa understands the emotional terrain better than anyone. I handed the phone back. Forward them to Dana. Olivia nodded. I already did. That was her shift. Not apology. Action. Daniel used to control the room by making everyone wait for his version. Now his own sister was sending receipts before he could speak. 2 weeks later, the settlement conference lasted less than an hour. Daniel arrived with a gray face and an expensive attorney who no longer sounded confident. He did not look at me when Dana placed the bank transfers, the chapel recording, the hospital compliance letter, Paula's statement, Vanessa's messages, and Olivia's screenshots into one clean packet. His attorney read silently. Then he whispered to Daniel. Daniel's mouth tightened. Dana said, my client is not seeking public humiliation. She is seeking the house, restoration of transferred marital funds, written correction of false statements made to Ethan regarding the hospital, and no further contact from Ms. Reed. Daniel finally looked at me. You got what you wanted. I looked back. No. I got back what you took. His eyes flickered. I loved you once. I know. That should count for something. It did. That's why it took me 18 years to stop believing your love was trapped under your lies. He looked away. Dana continued. Mr. Harper will also agree not to use Mrs. Harper's medical history in personal, legal, or family communications except through counsel. Daniel gave a bitter laugh. So I'm gagged now? I leaned forward. No. You are corrected. He stared at me. I kept my voice level. I don't need you ruined, Daniel. I need you unable to lie with my name again. His attorney touched his sleeve. Daniel signed. Not because he was sorry. Because he was cornered by paper. And paper, I had learned, could be quieter than revenge and still stronger than rage. That evening, Ethan came home with a frame wrapped in brown paper. He set it on the kitchen table. What is this? Open it. Inside was my letter. Not the original. The scan, cleaned and printed, framed behind glass. I touched it carefully. The glass was cold under my fingertips. I am here. Please wait for me. I love you before I even know your face. My eyes blurred. You framed it? Ethan nodded. Dad hid your first words to me. I didn't want them hidden anymore. I could not speak. He stepped beside me. I'm sorry, I believed him before I asked you. I looked at him. You were a child inside a story he controlled. I'm not a child now. No. He swallowed. And I'm asking now. I held the frame against my chest. What do you want to know? He looked at the letter. Read it to me. So I did. Not in the hospital. Not through a closed door. Not through Daniel's version. In our kitchen, with evening light on the table and my son sitting across from me, I read the words I had written when I was weak but still his mother. When I finished, Ethan wiped his face with his sleeve. Then he took out a folded paper from his pocket. I wrote one too. My breath caught. To me? To you. He unfolded it. Mom, I am here. I should have found you sooner, but I was waiting inside someone else's lie. I know your face now. I know your voice. And I choose the truth with you. I closed my eyes. For 18 years, Danielle had made my motherhood sound like absence. But there, across the table, my son gave it back its name. Presence. The vows Danielle tried to make in that chapel never survived the truth. But the promise Ethan and I made afterward did. We would not let silence protect lies. We would not confuse dignity with surrender. And we would never again let someone else tell the story of how we loved each other. So if someone ever tried to bury your truth under their version of events, tell me your story below. This was the last receipt, where receipts outlive lies.